YouTube Ozzico and the Goat House is back after Thursday night football between the Broncos and the Browns. Close game in the end, but not really a close game. I'm here to give you my takeaways like I do for every Thursday game. For all the Sunday games, I give you the recap takeaways every Monday. We also got weekly predictions, all kinds of them, power rankings, predictions, score predictions. We got you covered here at the Goat House, so join us. Trade deadline approaching, got you covered for that as well. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Make sure you follow our Twitter. A lot going on, talking during live games. A lot of my thoughts already were on Twitter from last night's game. So, yep, check it out. Link down below for that. So the Browns win by 3. If you watch the game, you understand the Browns dominated that game way more than the score will show. And really how they dominated it was playing Browns football, running the ball and controlling the clock. And when it works, it really works. And the teams get limited chances like the Broncos did last night, and they couldn't really execute with the chances they had. A lot of the talk, it's a tough one for the Broncos fans too, because the last few weeks when they've been losing, been preaching it's the coach's fault. And I watched those games too. I know that those games weren't prime time, so the whole world couldn't see them. But, it was the coach's fault mainly, I think. The coaching's fault. Play calling's been pretty bad. Looking at last week against the Raiders, run game was working. That's how you beat the Raiders. And they kind of abandoned it the second they get down, even though they're in the game. So it's been bad. You also have to blame the players for not executing. But now, everyone preaching it's the coach's fault. You go into this primetime game for the entire world to see. All right, let's see. And this game was not on the coaches, not even a little bit here. The only thing I'll say, I wish Javonte Williams would get the ball more because he's a big-time playmaker. Hell of a, gaining a lot of yards on the per carry, gaining a good amount of yards, and that's kind of every week. He just needs the ball more. They're really easing him into it, and there's really no reason to ease a running back. That's really my only shot in the coaching staff from last night. Do I think the coaching staff is good? No. I think, when things are going south, things aren't going well, I think it's a sign it's time to move on. So I think they definitely should. I think they will, too, move on at the end of the season. But this game was just a lack of execution by the players. Fangio wasn't out there missing tackles on Case Keenum in a crucial moment of the game, but missing tackles the whole night on Dearness Johnson, whoever it may be. When some of those should have been negative or a no gain type play. The first drive of the game, Noah Fant was in position to get a first down. I don't know, he picked it up with the rest of the game, but the lack of effort on that play, Teddy Bridgewater not being able to, get the ball downfield. He had one early. Cortland Sutton had a nice one-handed grab, but other than that, and then they got in field goal range. And he forced one downfield, and it was a bad one. It was severely underthrown. Shermer's not out there, making Teddy Bridgewater throw that ball. And all the other times when it's like third down and there's options, I know they're kind of covered, but there's options downfield, and Bridgewater takes the check down and takes the guy short of the sticks. And there's been here and there times the last few weeks where the play is designed to go short of the sticks, but in this game, no, Teddy Bridgewater was kind of forcing it. There is an option there, and you may say, why is there even an option there? I understand that debate, but, kind of having, if everyone's downfield, no option, what if the quarterback can't run? It's pretty tough. I also say this, and I'm definitely not, I'll defend a guy like Pat Shermer right now, but I'm not defending him in general. I think they can get better. I think it's time to move on from the staff. It's been bad this year. But a game like this, and for the most part, it's very tough to call plays when you're pretty limited downfield, and that showed in this game. When you have a 1st and 10, are you going to throw the ball beyond the sticks? You're not going to call that play. You're going to call, at this point you're playing to get closer to manage on second, third down. It's 2nd and 7. They run it, or they throw a 4-yard pass. Sometimes it's on Bridgewater throwing it short of the sticks and not taking the chance downfield. I think as soon as he threw the pick, he really stopped taking any kind of chances. Sometimes you just got to make the tight window throws. And Bridgewater was playing a little better the last score they got, and they didn't even get a chance again because they couldn't stop the Browns. And who knows? He was playing pretty well at that point. Pretty simple throws, a lot of slants. Throwing on the run, though. So he was making okay throws at that point, but just a lack of chances from him, and really the only chances he got, one was a one-handed catch by Sutton, and one was a bad interception. Those were early in the game. So it just there just wasn't the best play, and receivers weren't helping them. They weren't getting separation. Not a lot of speed out there. They miss Hamler's a pure speed guy. Judy has speed, part of his game. Tim Patrick just, he looked pretty slow out there. Couldn't get separation. Cortland Sutton can get separation. He's not a guy that's where his strength is, but he's a phenomenal receiver. Just not a lot of separation, but it just comes to a point where Teddy's going to have to try to make some of these throws, not just hit your check down every single time. So I didn't have a problem with the play calling yesterday, and I don't think anybody should. I don't really think that's an opinion. I think, in the last week, I blamed the play calling first, and I do think it's time to move on from the coaching staff, but it's been a little bit of a mess, and when things just aren't working, yeah, it's time. But in this game, the players certainly didn't execute. And the main problem was tackling on defense. Even though the Browns only scored 17, they dominated. They dominated offense versus the Broncos defense. The Broncos just couldn't tackle. We talked about that. They couldn't tackle. The Browns, would they have the ball for over 36 minutes? That's what won the game. They could have scored more than 17 points. They played the clock, and that's always risky. You see, kind of the one sort of negative for the Browns is, how the hell were the Broncos in this game? If they would have got the ball back, would they have won this game or tied it? That's crazy to think about, but that's kind of the risk with, playing the clock running game. But it's not a negative because it worked, and they didn't really get conservative. They threw the ball in certain times where most teams would have ran the ball. Let Keenum roll out and make a play. So I really liked the game plan. I liked the play calling from the Browns. Keenum did his job. He didn't really throw the ball downfield too much at all. When he did, he kind of hit those. I think there was one early. His deepest one downfield was almost picked by Justin Simmons. But he didn't really need to. He made plays with his legs. He's tougher than given credit for. You see him break 2 tackles and get a first down. That was a questionable decision to go on 4th down there, and that could have been the game. And they get it. I mean, the Broncos got to make those tackles. I know they had a couple backup inside linebackers in there. The Browns the Browns offense is backups. 3rd string running back Case Keenum, who failed the Broncos. Apparently, he did, but so it's a 2nd string quarterback. You got a 2nd string right tackle in there. You got a backup fullback doing work in there. You got Landry and OBJ that are playing hurt, and they're getting hurt. It's they're not throwing downfield. They're going underneath. The system of the Browns. And you still couldn't stop them. Shelby Harris I thought was really carrying the defense. I would say this: Justin Simmons is the best player on the Broncos, but it's very hard to tell right now because he's got so much responsibility, kind of trying to pick up the slack from everybody. In the back portion of this defense and some. He's responsible for, the whole field pretty much. So he hasn't played his best game, which we think he can be elite at any given time. I like Justin Simmons a lot. He just hasn't been anywhere near that, but that's because he has to carry so much. But it comes down to, I don't think the Broncos roster is nearly as talented as we all thought. I thought there's a lot of guys they're not crucial pieces, big pieces. They can move on from that guy. They got to get better here. It would help if they have their 2 starting inside linebackers, but Von Miller wasn't playing necessarily well. He goes down. Jonathan Cooper, the rookie from Ohio State, who looked really good in preseason, comes in. I thought he was looking good. He was he missed the sack he probably should have got. Keenum ducked at the perfect time is when the Browns were backed up in their own end zone, towards their own end zone. And then he was about to hit Keenum right before. I think the ball would have came out too, right before the ball came out. And Keenum knew. He had good awareness there. Got the ball out, ended up being a big play. So Cooper almost really changed the game. I thought he played well. Surtain was hit or miss for sure. Was surprised that tackle he missed. He's kind of joining in on the whole group. It's hard to believe that Ronald Darby's better than Kyle Fuller. I know Kyle Fuller hasn't been playing super well, but it's I'm not going to believe that. I know people will. I think fans will say that, and if Fuller had the 3-year contract and Darby had the 1, they'd be agreeing that Fuller's better. So that's just what that is. Fuller's better than him. And Darby had 1 good tackle in this game that kind of saved some a big gain, but I don't know. I have to think that I've been talking about, I think he could be traded any time. Maybe that's why. But yeah, just not the best play from the Broncos. Again, like I said, it was just they're in prime time. A game that, they really should win. I know they're missing their inside linebackers, but they got guys that are supposed to be big-time playmakers everywhere, and they're just not, in Browns with a lot of backups in that offense took control of this game, so it's just unfortunate. But again, it is hard to call plays. And I haven't been through the play decisions there, especially last week, maybe the week before as well. But a game like this shows you it's very hard to call plays when you're kind of limited. It's kind of what I was saying with the Steelers last year. It's kind of the same thing with the Steelers this year. There's quite a few teams like that. You can't throw downfield. It limits your options. You almost become predictable by default. I didn't think they were too predictable in this game. They had a 2nd and 7 run, instead of a 2nd and 7, small, short, quick pass. There's not a variety of plays you can run. And they had opportunities for Teddy Bridgewater. He just wasn't taking the chances downfield after he threw that pick. If he didn't throw that pick, you get another field goal. I trust McManus, and who knows? It would have been 17-17 at the end. The Browns probably would have had a shot at the end there. But there's a lot of ways this game actually could have went different, even though the Broncos got dominated in this game. They are missing Judy and Hamler, with their separation. Not that they were playing. Hamler was starting to look pretty good, but we'll see. Judy's going to come back. A game like this kind of shows, and losing 4 straight kind of shows, I think it's time for a rebuild. I think it's time to clean house, both. You look at the Broncos team, I like Javonte Williams for the future. Melvin Gordon's about to be a free agent, but I like you're good at running back for the future. There's a few pieces that, in terms of the offensive line, really looking at the left side and maybe the center position with Cushenberry. The right side, you kind of got to retool it up. Receivers, Cortland Sutton's going to be a free agent. I think they can get him back. But a lot of injury, guys you worry about injury. Still relying on development for some of these guys as well. Noah Fant got to continue to develop here. And, key pieces to build around that are going to be under contract. Javonte Williams, a couple guys in the offensive lineman, maybe Noah Fant. Got to re-sign Cortland Sutton. You need a quarterback. That's one big sign of it. You're going to get a new coaching staff. Defensively, I love Justin Simmons. Hasn't played all that great, but a tough task. Can build around Patrick Surtain. Shelby Harris, a great player, but he's getting up there in age. Von Miller has been playing that great. He's getting up there in age, has injury concern. He's a free agent. Bradley Chubb, he's a great player. Can you trust him to stay healthy? You almost need any position across that. And there's guys that are decent, don't get me wrong, but you can get better there for where you want to go, for sure. You definitely can get, Kareem Jackson's going to be a free agent. He's kind of getting towards the end of his career. But guys like, they got some, Draymond Jones, some young guys, they're solid. You definitely need to get better in some of those spots. So solid players, but so you start to realize, including myself, this Broncos, there isn't as many takeover players, that big of impact players on this team than we thought. Look at the free agents. Look at their need at quarterback. It's time to enter rebuild mode, but it doesn't really have to be stage 1 rebuild mode. You have pieces, like I said. It doesn't have to be completely tear it down, so not saying that, but that's just kind of what it feels like. And when they started 3-0, we didn't really think it was going to feel, any chance it's going to feel like it, but they did play some weaker teams. And, they beat the Giants. I always talk about week 1's mysterious. They beat the Giants week 1. If those two teams played again, I would pick the Giants to win the game, and the Giants are pretty damn depleted right now. So kind of says what the Broncos are doing right now. Clean house, probably in some sort of rebuild, maybe retool if you want to call it, because it's not stage 1 rebuild mode. So it's not ideal, for the Broncos, but it's, And I guess the question of Drew Lock, it felt like Teddy Bridgewater was not healthy. So you can kind of get on the coaching staff about that. How could you not put in Drew Lock? But I guess they think that low of him, I guess. But and again, that last drive to score, Teddy, he was starting to heat up a little bit. He's just gotta take more chances. If he doesn't trust himself, then he's not the guy. That's just what it is. But the Browns, again, game plan, execution. Offensive line is so good. Missing Jack Conklin too. Offensive line just so good. D'Ernest Johnson was a beast out there. He's just he looked real good. And that kind of makes you think that it's just this team. They're almost any running back get thrown in there and they're gonna look pretty good. But they do have some talented guys. You don't just do that without talent. So D'Ernest Johnson is very talented. But that kind of shows. Kareem Hunt. I actually think. People may look at it like, yeah, maybe their running backs aren't as valuable because a third string guy goes in. I understand that. Looks like, I kind of agree with that, with the point that other running backs can get thrown in there and look pretty good, maybe better than, what they look like on the Broncos perhaps. But I think Kareem Hunt's value increased a little bit because you got this guy like Dearness Johnson that can break tackles, kind of like Nick Chubb, not as good, and he can make it work. He has the vision, but having a guy like Kareem Hunt that can do that, but catch the ball pretty much anywhere on the field and run after the catch, that's a prized possession right there. And the contract that they got him for, I mean, it's a valuable player right there, extremely valuable player. Stefanski loved the play calling. It wasn't just completely. It's kind of run clock without being conservative, which it seems like it's an impossible task for a lot of these coaches out there. But I guess not Kevin Stefanski. It was odd a little bit. They allowed Denver was kind of in this game, even though the Browns dominated. But that comes with that game plan. Like the Browns dominated it. The score won't show it, but they'll take that all day. So, they're going to need to get healthy. Let's see if Nick Chubb will come back. Maybe Conklin. It sounds like his injury could be worse than we originally thought. Denzel Ward got hurt in this game, but the next guy's stepped up. But, again, the Broncos don't have too much of a threat passing downfield, not like the Cardinals last week. So, Broncos, they got Washington next week. It's a winnable game, but it's fully hard to trust them right now. But maybe they'll get a guy like Jerry Jeudy back. I think it's very likely, I'd say. That's going to wrap up my thoughts on this game. Much needed win from both teams. The Browns pull it off. We got all kinds of content here. Picks, score predictions, power rankings, rookie power rankings, covering the trade deadline. More content coming on that. Recent mock draft up. We got you covered here at the Go Dallas. So like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We much appreciate it. Make sure you check out our Twitter link down below. It's very important. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.